Continuing from the previous episode 1635. That is, how could the Btth2 diversion soul cup be taken away by someone? The restrictions surrounding the two ancient trees in the sky are extremely difficult for even me to deal with. No, you can't lose the Btth2 yin soul cup, Fang Hao said with a trace of resentment in Fang Hao's eyes as he looked at the thousand Zhang Laming retreating in the devouring world. Boy, leave things behind. Otherwise, die. I don't know what trick Fang Hao used, but he actually broke through the swallowing world and came to Xiaoyan. His broad palm was raised, and the dense black thunder covered it. Like a *** of death, killing Xiaoyan. This was so close at hand, it was as strong as a blow from a mid-stage 8-star Do Xian. If it hit Xiaoyan, I am afraid that Xiaoyan would be completely turned into powder. Guru, Xiaoyan's whole body was filled with horror, and even the blue veins all over his body burst out in an instant, and the power in the body was not under his control. Comparability. Bang bang bang. The palm of the hand approached Xiaoyan 1 meter, and the black air mass of the Soul Eater came directly to Xiaoyan's side. Xiaoyan also suffered a lot of power aftermath. Teacher. Even with the protection of the Soul Eater, the fluctuations generated by the two powerhouses at close range still exerted extremely tyrannical pressure on Xiaoyan. Beating, many cultivation roots in the body have been destroyed by him. Obviously, even with the resistance of the Soul Eater just now, the fluctuations in the palms of the two still directly smashed Xiaoyan into serious injuries. Xiaoyan, are you all right? In an instant, the black air mass that enveloped Soul Eater instantly dissipated, revealing the true face of Soul Eater. This is a rather handsome man, with handsome facial features, sharp edges and corners, and white eyes like a woman, which seems to contain some kind of shocking magic, and at this time, on the face of the Lord of Soul Eater, a ferocious expression roaring killing intent spread out. Xiaoyan, who was guarded by the Soul Eater, had blood flowing down his clothes, his breath was sluggish, his face was extremely pale, and even the meridians in his body were broken, but even so, Xiaoyan still acted instinctively. She stubbornly protects the Btth2 Divine Soul Cup in front of her chest, not hurting in the slightest. It's really shameful that the dignified West Temple Master would be so cruel to a junior. This time, let's fall here completely. Suddenly, on the body of the Soul Eater, the power of black devouring turned into a shocking black flame, suspended around him, and a killing force originated from the superior. I mean, it fills the entire 5th floor. And the power entrained on this black flame is actually stronger than the power of Xiaoyan's 2 holy flames. But this black flame does not seem to belong to holy flames. What is this? Looking at the Soul Eater in such a state of rage, Fang Hao felt fear in his heart. The Soul Eater in this state, let alone the strength of his mid-stage 8-star fighting immortals, even if it is the Lord of Li Soul, and I am afraid that I would not dare to confront him head-on. The black flame alone made Fang Hao's complexion become solemn for the first time. Teacher, let's go quickly, the fluctuations here are too strong. If it attracts the powerhouses of Li Soul realm, this time all the previous efforts will be lost. Xiaoyan forcibly endured the fatigue in his body and said weakly, because at this time, Xiaoyan clearly noticed arrived, there is an extremely tyrannical aura, is approaching here rapidly. Oh, seeing Xiaoyan like this, Soul Eater's heart was like a knife twisted. When he was in Zan Santian before, he was clearly in Xiaoyan's body, but watching Mu Yingying sacrifice, now he has his own existing. Xiaoyan almost fell into Fang Hao's hands again, which made this Soul Eater realm really moved. Do not worry, this time, no matter how many people they come, I will make them pay the price. The Lord of Soul Eater smiled slowly. After speaking, the dazzling black flames all over his body hung on his shoulders, and then he gently walked towards Fang Hao. In the past, it was obvious that Fang Hao was certain to die today. The fastest update of Chi novel, Master of Soul Eater, you. Fang Hao was also afraid after seeing the Master of Soul Eater like this. Die. As the Soul Eater walked, this space was completely enveloped by a black flame, and immediately a dangerous atmosphere filled the entire 5th floor. Hey, Fang Hao, well done. Suddenly, the void here suddenly wriggled, and the overwhelming 7-color luster instantly filled the air, so a middle-aged woman stepped out of the void and smiled. The energy clone of the Master of the South Temple. This is tricky. Looking at the middle-aged woman who suddenly appeared, the voice of the Soul Eater suddenly became heavy. Although the master of the Nanshan Temple is a first-class female class, his strength is also in the middle stage of the 8-star Do Xian. Chi-Chi's novels are first published on the whole network. Go ahead, absolutely can't let him run away. Fang Hao didn't hesitate when he saw the energy clone coming, and thunder spread all over his body, drifting away in this void, trying to block the last retreat of the two Soul Eaters. For a while, if you lose Chi-Du Divine Soul Cup, just give up, the Lord of Soul Eater reluctantly said, and then the mysterious devouring power emerged in the body. Looking at this appearance, it was impressive. I want to force a breakout. Teacher, let's go. In an instant, Xiao Yan exhausted his last breath and shouted loudly. Fang Hao's actions were to delay time. I am afraid that the situation will be precarious, and once the Lord of Soul Eater falls into the hands of Li Soul territory, I am afraid that Soul Eater territory will sooner or later become a vassal of Li Soul territory. Not to mention the two 8-star powerhouses today. If there are more reinforcements, I am afraid that they will only fall here today. Alas! Seeing Xiao Yan's stubborn appearance, the Soul Eater shook his head helplessly. Zaidu glanced at the two 8-star fighting immortals in front of him. The black flames immediately dissipated from his body, and the black aura enveloped Xiao Yan. Break the 5th layer of void between waves and try to escape. Master of Soul Eater, where are you running? In an instant, as Master Soul Eater and Xiao Yan tried to escape, a burst of 7-colored luster appeared on the palm of the mysterious woman who had just appeared, directly carrying an unstoppable terrifying force, flying towards them both. Shoot away. Crash. With a sound, the 7-color luster directly hit a certain place in the void, and the void collapsed in an instant. Let's go. At this critical moment, a shadowy figure slowly emerged from the edge of the devouring power, intercepting the attack of the two, and immediately said to Xiao Yan and the two with beautiful eyes, but this shadowy shadow appeared. At that time, Xiao Yan clearly noticed that the Soul Eater, who had always been calm, was suddenly sluggish for a while. After speaking, Xiao Yan and the two left here in an instant, but only 3 figures were left in the void on the 5th floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda. Soul Eater, Hao Ni'er? At that time, the energy-cloned middle-aged woman and Fang Hao exclaimed at the same time, and the aura in their bodies rolled uncontrollably. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1636. Boom! The overwhelming 7-color luster and black thunder, like a master, descended on this world, and suddenly this world was filled with an extremely strong unease. Teacher, it's great that you're fine. At the same time, the beautiful figure standing on the edge of the void, with her beautiful eyes closed slightly, said contentedly. This lonely figure is a real powerhouse of Soul Eater, Hao Ni'er. As the disciple of the Soul Eater, Hao Ni'er naturally sensed the specific location of the Soul Eater through some subtle aura, so he did not hesitate to spend a lot of power to travel across the void and come to receive him, but fortunately, all this are all worth it. Hao Ni'er, you are the agent domain owner of Soul Eater Domain. Why did you come to my Soul Eater Domain for no reason? What is your intention? In an instant, 2 terrifying waves roared towards Qian Ying, Fang Hao said with a solemn expression. Road. They know that Hao Ni'er's strength is a real rival to the entire Li Soul realm. At the beginning of the Second Domain War, Soul Eater suffered heavy losses. Later, after compensation for many territorial resources, Hao Ni'er was the acting domain owner of Soul Eater. The second domain has been in peace for so many years, but Soul Eater is in under the rule of this woman. There is an amazing unity, and even the speed of strength growth is extremely terrifying. Hao Ni'er's talent is said to be comparable to that of the Master of Soul Eater. Although he is not as powerful as the Master of Soul Eater, his strength may have reached the level of the late 8-star fighting immortal. The fastest update of Chi-Chi novel, Humph. It's just 2 mice. Hao Ni'er raised her eyebrows and snorted coldly. The silver light around her body was like a waterfall, falling from the sky. Suddenly, in this world, there were 3 dominant auras. There was no doubt that these 3 the breath is all at the level of the 8-star fighting immortal, and that kind of aura is undoubtedly shocking. Damn, the Lord of Soul Eater has escaped, and the Chi-Du Divine Soul Cup has also been taken away by them. They really came prepared. Fang Hao sensed that Soul Eater's aura completely dissipated, and immediately regretted it. At the beginning, the Master of Li Soul obtained the Chi-Du Yin Soul Cup by coincidence, and the powerhouses who gathered the entire Li Soul domain could not participate in the secret. Therefore, Fang Hao took the initiative to resign and came to the depths of the Earth Spirit Pagoda to guard these treasures day and night. First, it is for selfishness. If he can participate in the secret of Chi-Du Diving Soul, I am afraid that Fang Hao's strength and status will completely replace the Lord of Li Soul, and secondly, it is also to stay away from the many people of His Royal Highness, the Lord of Li Soul. Intriguing calculations. But now, the Lord of Soul Eater took action, and with Xiao Yan, the two of them actually brought out the Chi-Du Yin Soul Cup under their own eyes, which made Fang Hao's old face sink and said angrily, "Teacher, they have gone far. I should go too." There was a trace of resentment hidden in the beautiful eyes, and then turned around indifferently, glanced at the two behind with a graceful posture, and snorted softly. She knows that if she really wants to compete today, with her strength and means, she can easily keep these two guys here permanently, but her purpose is not this, but to protect her teacher, the Lord of Soul Eater. Such a beautiful woman. Rao was a middle-aged woman with a delicate face, and when he saw Hao Ni'er, he couldn't help showing a hint of envy. Hao Ni'er is as light as a swallow. On top of her body, there are sections of beautiful silk and satin. 3,000 blue silk falls like a waterfall, making her figure even more beautiful. Yuhan, on top of Yuhan, an ancient pattern emerges quietly, but its whole body is filled with a light and aura, like a fairy from the world who does not stain the world. Kai Dai, do it. After the blink of an eye, Fang Hao's eyes showed a trace of resentment, and the thunder axe in his hand released a dazzling black thunder. The thunder was like a lion in a state of rage, with a terrifying momentum. On the other side, the head of the Nanshan Temple under the energy clone, Kai Dai's body, was filled with a 7-color energy at the same time, and suddenly projected directly at Hao Ni'er. "I won't play with you anymore." The binding of space. Hao Ni'er smiled softly when looking at such a tyrannical attack from the two. Around her body, an ancient silver power filled the air, and the void suddenly shook. What? How could this guy have an ancient source of space? Seeing Hao Ni'er coming out like this, both of them felt heavy, and immediately looked at each other. Chi-Chi's novels are first published on the whole network, Wang buzzing. The next moment, the dazzling silver power of space filled the 5th floor of the entire Earth Spirit Pagoda like a meteor, and soon it was completely ignited, and it exploded like a doomsday. Hey! With a sound, the void was closing, and Hao Ni'er's figure slowly disappeared here. Settle down here first. The next step is to tell the Lord of the Soul about what happened here. It seems that the appearance of Hao Ni'er and the Lord of Soul Eater this time is no coincidence. Instead of chasing and killing, they each exerted their strength to settle down here. Immediately, there were quite strange things happening in the entire shrine of the Lord of Souls. On the other side, the Master of Soul Eater took Xiao Yan to escape from the Earth Spirit Pagoda, directly broke through the void and came to a wilderness near the courtyard in the Earth Spirit domain. There are few people here, but it is very good. This hiding place. Little guy, are you all right? Just when he came here, the dazzling devouring power of Soul Eater went directly to Xiao Yan's body, trying to repair the injury in Xiao Yan's body. Teacher, I'm fine. This is the Chi-Du Yin Soul Cup. This time, it is fortunate that the teacher is there. Xiao Yan said weakly, and after saying that, he forced himself not to fall down with a trace of perseverance, and the Chi-Du Yin on his chest, the Soul Cup, was pushed towards the Lord of Soul Eater in front of him, with a smile on his cheeks. Wang buzzing. The Lord of Soul Eater ignored Xiao's seemingly ordinary lamp, supported Xiao Yan's shoulders with both hands, and the dazzling power of devouring poured into Xiao Yan's body, repairing Xiao Yan's injured body. In an instant, the two of them became so quiet. As for the Chi-Du Soul Reduction Cup, it was directly thrown aside by the Soul Eater Lord. If it weren't for this thing, Xiao Yan almost fell on the 5th floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda. In the main body of Soul Eater, there is more guilt towards Xiao Yan. Wang buzzing. After a while, the void in front of the two squirmed, and a beautiful shadow filled the air. Teacher, Qian Ying just appeared, and she immediately said respectfully to the handsome man in front of him who was concentrating on urging the power of devouring to heal Xiao Yan. Shabu shabu. This seemingly understated voice reached Xiao Yan's body, but it brought shocking waves. It seemed that the ordinary woman in front of her was even more terrifying than the previous two 8-star fighting immortals, but now this woman's appearance was changed and covered up by it, and it looked rather vague and the same as ordinary human beings, and even her breath was hidden by it, just like ordinary people. But it was this contrast that made Xiao Yan know that the two people beside him at this time were probably the two top powerhouses in the Soul Eater domain of the Ghost Realm. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1637. Ni'er, I haven't seen you for a long time. This is your little junior brother. Sensing that the void in front of him was squirming, a beautiful figure emerged. The Soul Eater did not turn his head, but still kept his eyes on Xiao Yan's continuous help in healing. He only spoke slightly, but his voice was filled with a sense of relief. It is clear that there are thousands of words in the word Ni'er. Teacher. Perceiving this familiar voice, Hao Ni'er's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. The importance of the Master of Soul Eater to Hao Ni'er is probably only clear to her. If it wasn't for the Master of Soul Eater, I am afraid that Hao Ni'er would have already fallen in other places, and there will still be the current agent of Soul Eater domain. Wait a minute, let me settle the injury in your little junior brother's body. Seeing Hao Ni'er like this, the Soul Eater was talking, and he naturally knew the character of this girl. Hao Ni'er stood silently aside, her head lowered, thinking about something. On the other side, Xiao Yan's internal injuries were healed by the Master of Soul Eater with all his strength, and he recovered 7 to 88, making Xiao Yan calm down. Originally, Xiao Yan felt that the meridians in his body that were shattered by the energy fluctuations of the 8-star Do Xian level this time would probably take a lot of time and medicinal pills to repair. Xiao Yan was deeply shocked by the recovery of all his injuries. Cough cough. In an instant, the Master of Soul Eater pulled his hands back behind his back. After a while, Xiao Yan's breath calmed down, but a slight cough emerged from the corner of the Lord of Soul Eater's mouth. The breath of the Lord is a little weak. Teacher, are you okay? At this time, Hao Ni'er asked cautiously. Ever since she escaped from the Earth Spirit Pagoda and came here, Hao Ni'er found her teacher's aura, so she came here alone without telling the crowd on the spaceship, and she finally caught up, otherwise her teacher this time situation will become unavoidable. Now, the Master of Soul Eater is using his source power to heal Xiao Yan, and the Master of Soul Eater was originally a seriously injured body, and now he is using the power of his source to heal Xiao Yan, so Hao Ni'er couldn't bear it. She felt distressed, but she knew her teacher's character and didn't say anything. Now that the healing of the two is over, Hao Ni'er speaks softly. Junior Xiao Yan, I have seen senior sister. Seeing this, Xiao Yan hurriedly stood up and clasped his fist at the ordinary woman in disguise in front of him. At this time, Hao Ni'er did not show her true face, but disguised herself as a plain-looking woman, in order to hide her breath. Young junior brother, you don't need to be more polite. Hao Ni'er also smiled sweetly when she heard the words, and then her jade hand slowly attacked Xiao Yan. Squeak. With a sound, Hao Ni'er's white jade-like palm slowly clung to Xiao Yan's, but the ancient jade ring on the jade hand vibrated wang buzzing, as if something was happening. CCC. In an instant, a chill from the depths of the soul swept through the body. Xiao Yan's pupils are now tightly shrunk, and he has forgotten where he is. He just feels that he has been involved in a realm of ice, and all the power in his body has been imprisoned. In this white and ice world, Xiao Yan is like ants are generally small. This is Ni'er's power, don't worry. After a while, the voice of the Soul Eater rang out, and Xiao Yan's restless heart suddenly eased. This little junior brother is from the Xiao clan? After Shunshi, Xiao Yan's entire body of ice was fleeting, and he immediately retreated from the ancient jade ring in Hao Ni'er's hand, and Hao Ni'er gently retracted his palm. Going back, he looked at Xiao Yan in surprise and said, Those who can be accepted as disciples by the Master of Soul Eater are all geniuses out of 10,000, and the word Xiao clan is enough to prove Xiao Yan's extraordinary. This guy is indeed a descendant of the Xiao clan, and he is also a native descendant of the birthplace of the Xiao clan's lower realm. At the beginning of the Second World War, I was involved in the turbulence of space, so I went to the duty continent. It was because of this little guy that I was harvested and helped me all the way. I am now, the Lord of Soul Eater said lightly. Hao Ni'er heard the words and nodded lightly, but at this time, Hao Ni'er, who had always been indifferent, actually had a much more favorable impression of this little junior brother. After all, Hao Ni'er and the Soul Eater had an extraordinary relationship. Has regarded the Soul Eater as an indispensable thing in his life. Xiao Yan's actions have undoubtedly won a lot of trust from Hao Ni'er. This move also laid some foundations for Xiao Yan to dominate the world in the future. Okay, let's not talk about this, it's all over now. After a while, the Master of Soul Eater laughed and shook his shoulders. Teacher, this thing, could it be the Qidu Diversion Soul Cup? After a simple inquiry, it was confirmed that Xiao Yan's true identity and the Master of Soul Eater would be fine, except for the injury to the source. Hao Ni'er stared at the delicate lanterns above the soil. It is indeed this thing. The Soul Eater replied, this thing is said to help you restore your full source power. Hao Ni'er said with a smile, carefully holding the exquisite lamp. This thing is indeed recorded in this way, but whether it really uses such power, we have to use it before we know it. At this moment, the Lord of Soul Eater also opened his mouth and said, obviously if he restores his complete origin, then this time the second domain in the war, Li Soul territory will definitely lose. The method of using this thing is already in my mind, but I just need to find a quiet place. After all, these restorations take a lot of time. Looking at such a mysterious Qidu soul tractor, the Soul Eater murmured. Road. Teacher, now half of the army in Soul Eater domain has taken your Soul Eater spaceship to the territory of Li Soul domain. It will be a quite quiet paradise. Hao Ni'er said at the next moment. Spaceship support. The Soul Eater heard the words, turned around slowly, and muttered. Crack. Teacher, the trip to Do D continent and the ghost world, how much trouble have you been bothering? This is the source fire of Ghost Face and Soul Flame, as well as the Holy Flame Crystal. If the teacher can absorb him, then he will enter the dream realm, it will be a matter of course. After the blink of an eye, Xiao Yan's chest rose and fell violently. The cyan liquid flame was wrapped, and cyan crystals appeared in one hand, and Xiao Yan immediately looked at the Soul Eater with a smile and said with a smile, Zheng Xin Lu Mao Qi Qi Novel Wang, WW, this is the source of Holy Flame and Holy Flame Crystal of Ghost Face and Soul Flame? At this moment, Xiao Yan, who had already determined that Hao Ni'er had a lot of goodwill, came to such a place, which made Hao Ni'er feel a sense of difficulty in his heart. A look of confidence. This guy is actually willing to strip out the source of Holy Flame. Isn't he afraid of losing his source and unable to improve his strength in the future? Or, the favor of the Lord of Soul Eater has far surpassed that of Holy Flame. A trace of doubt remained in Hao Ni'er's heart for a long time. Chi-Chi's novels are first published on the whole network. Continuing from the previous episode 1638, the blue liquid flame seems to be extremely reluctant to Xiao Yan, and it is quite a memory, and although Xiao Yan temporarily stripped the source of Ghostface Soul Flame, Sheng Yan did not leave Xiao Yan, so the breath and even the source were not lost. Quote. The next moment, in this space, there was a dead silence. Hao Ni'er's beautiful eyes turned back and forth between Xiao Yan and the Soul Eater, but after a while, he shook his head. It's not that Hao Ni'er is passionate about ghost face and soul inflammation, but Hao Ni'er knows that although her teacher is not an evil person, she is proud of everything she has done in her life, but she breaks through the 8-star fighting immortals and steps on. Entering the 9 stars fighting immortal is his dream. 9-star fighting immortal, that is another level. In the Great Thousand World, the powerhouse who will step into the 9-star fighting immortal will become Samsara. And once you step into the cycle of reincarnation, the various changes that will occur will probably be the most mysterious and unpredictable existence in this world. It will live with the sky and sleep with the earth, so as to achieve true eternal existence. For a powerhouse like the Soul Lord, it is full of endless attraction. It's just that what Hao Ni'er is worried about now is her little junior brother, Xiao Yan. She knew that once Sheng Yan left the body, his strength would be regressed and his source would be unstable. In the future, his strength would be difficult to improve, and he would fall. No matter what kind of harm it was, Xiao Yan was extremely dignified. You little guy, what you did really exceeded my expectations. But you need this thing more than me. Take it back. I believe that you will never be lower than me in the future. As for reincarnation, I will use my own method to step into it. And the last time the second domain was defeated, this time, our Soul Eater domain will let Li Soul domain repay in full. At this moment, the Soul Eater Lord smiled lovingly. His voice was extremely flat, but it was this kind of flatness. But it is full of strange fluctuations. This wave of fluctuation is like the law of heaven and earth. The great world calls this kind of thing reincarnation. This is the power of reincarnation? Seeing this scene, Hao Ni'er was shocked and lost her voice. Even Hao Ni'er's power in the middle stage of the 8 stars fighting immortals is half understood about reincarnation. The power of reincarnation seems to exist only in the great world. What exactly is it, how to cultivate and how to obtain it, with her talent, it is also unknown. Gollum, the fastest update of Chi novel, take it back. After a while, looking at Xiaoyan who was unmoved, Hao Ni'er's figure wriggled and came to Xiaoyan's side, patted Xiaoyan's shoulder with the palm of his hand, and the power of holy flame suddenly returned to Xiaoyan. In the body, immediately on Hao Ni'er, the dazzling power was irrigating Xiaoyan. Suddenly, Xiaoyan's action did not cause any damage to him, but it also consumed a lot of Hao Ni'er's origin. It takes a lot of time to restore these original powers. Otherwise, without the power of the source of the 8-star fighting immortal powerhouse, I am afraid that Xiaoyan's move today, whether successful or not, will pose a threat to his source. Oh! Xiaoyan shook his head when he saw this. Okay, little guy, this time, it may be separated. The three were silent for a moment, and the Master of Soul Eater said, now that half of the powerhouses in the Soul Eater domain are here, the attack on the Li Soul domain requires careful planning, and he and the others need a real leader, and the Chi-Du Divine Soul Lamp is in hand, naturally to restore their original power. Teacher, don't worry. The rest of the way, the disciple will walk by himself. After all, I am your disciple. I can't say anything to disgrace your face, he. Xiaoyan said with a grin, but he did not bring Chi-Du into the Soul Cup and himself. Xiao Wen said things about it. After a long time, Chi-Du Yinhunzhen returned to Xiaoyan's hands, but it opened a new door for Xiaoyan. Immortal Fire and Acacia Broken Enteritis should all be in the hands of the Lord of Li Soul, but you can remember one thing. No matter what method he finds, because he is a soul and soul, he cannot condense a human body, even if it is a human body. In the worst case, he can only devour a holy flame. Seeing Xiaoyan's bright smile, Soul Eater said. Disciple remembered. Xiaoyan nodded his head. Obviously now, only the last holy flame is left, and the trip to the ghost world is a perfect end. After the ghost world was over, it was time to resurrect Mu Yinying and go to Duty Continent to find Zuner and solve the family mystery. Let's go. There are many strong people in our soul-devouring domain in the Earth Spirit Academy and Li Soul domain, and they will help you secretly. This time, I need to close down. Maybe next time. See you next time. You little guy can grow to the point that I am surprised. The Lord of Soul Eater smiled quite comfortably. Teacher, I will join in this battle between the two domains. Seeing this, Xiaoyan didn't say much, and smiled slightly. Teacher believes you. The Soul Eater heard the words, but without any hesitation, he answered directly. Teacher, senior sister, I'm leaving, you should take care. After a while, Xiaoyan's figure did not hesitate, and walked directly over here, towards the Central Territory, 10,000 Fire Sect. Xiaoyan was afraid of separation, not to mention the soul devouring a powerhouse like the Lord of Souls, the Lord of Soul Eater, accompanied him along the way, and already existed on the same level as Yao Lao, so Xiaoyan could only do this, so as to prevent himself from showing some ugly expressions. There, now Xiaoyan has a safe place to live. Not only are there many subordinates who believe in him, but there are even Xiao Gui and others, a place where he can truly feel the warmth. Teacher, would this be a little too cruel to him? As Xiaoyan left here, Hao Ni'er suddenly had a hint of concern in her beautiful eyes, and asked, apparently using Yuhan before to probe Xiaoyan's body to some other things. Handing over the responsibility of the Xiao clan to a young man made Hao Ni'er more or less worried. The matter of the Xiao family, at least until his strength reaches 7 stars or even stronger, before we can tell him. Moreover, the Xiao clan's powerhouses have the grace of knowing many of our top powerhouses. This time the second domain is over, I also have to try to contact other powerhouses to explore this secret together. I hope the final result, it won't be too bad. And don't worry, this little guy has grown up as I watched along the way. The Lord of Soul Eater said helplessly. This little guy can't even see through me. I'm afraid he will stand at the top of the world in the future. After a while, Hao Ni'er also laughed. Yep, let's go. After saying that, the figures of the two slowly disappeared, and they took the Chi-Do-inducing soul lamp towards a mysterious void in Li Soul territory. There, it was the base camp where soul-devouring territory attacked Li Soul territory. This is a spaceship built by the devouring power of the Soul Eater. It is specially used to carry powerful people on a large scale. It can be said without hesitation that at this time, there are many powerhouses quietly lurking on the ship. It can completely destroy Li Soul realm. It's just that with the return of Soul Eater and Hao Ni'er, after Hao Ni'er sent out orders to wait and see the changes, Chuan-Ji stayed here quietly, although for these powerhouses, it took several years. It's just a snap of their fingers, but as time goes on, they are becoming more and more dissatisfied with Hao Ni'er, but they obviously don't know that Hao Ni'er delays the time so much. The purpose is to let the Soul Eater go out. Once the Lord of Soul Eater successfully exits the border, then this time the battle between the two domains will have a great success rate. For nothing else, it should only be the sudden fluctuation of the Lord of Soul Eater. Chi-Chi's novels are first published on the whole network Reincarnation. A strong person who has stepped into the reincarnation can be enough to kill the entire realm. After all, even in the many regions of the ghost world, there is no reincarnation strong person, and the top strong person is only stuck in the 8-star battle of immortals. At the peak, I can't take that last step for a long time. One step to heaven, one step to hell. Whether reincarnation or fall, I am afraid it is unknown. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1639. The sky is clear and the sun is shining brightly, and the central region is still the prosperous scenery of the past. In the center of the central territory, there is a huge city called Tiancheng. In the city, there are countless treasures, and even the top forces in the countless central territories have taken root here. People from the 10,000 Fire Sect? At the door of a rather elegant courtyard, Xiao Yan held a rather simple wooden sign in his palm, and the guards immediately looked at Xiao Yan suspiciously. Since Xiao Yan's reputation has been greatly shaken, the 10,000 Fire Sect has been directly ranked among the top forces in the central territory because of Xiao Yan. There is also a place for the 10,000 Fire Sect in Tiancheng. In Tiancheng, there is a space passage back to the 10,000 Fire Sect, which was specially built by Xiao Gui. After all, the 10,000 Fire Sect base camp is not a short distance from the core of the central territory, and the space passage is indispensable as a means of transportation. Sir, please come here. After Shunshi, the figure in charge of guarding the gate of the courtyard verified the token and said respectfully to him. The fastest update of Chi-Chi novel, he was not the original disciple of 10,000 Fire Sect, but he joined it later because of Xiao Yan's reputation. After Xiao Yan covered his face now, he could not recognize Xiao Yan for a while, but the token in Xiao Yan's hand, but it is the genuine 10,000 Fire Order. This token, I am afraid that only the senior management of 10,000 Fire Sect can have it. Send me back. Seeing this, Xiao Yan smiled slightly, and immediately followed the guards towards the space passage. Boom! After a while, Xiao Yan stepped into the space passage, but it took some time to return to the 10,000 Fire Sect from here. On the other side, in the residence of the Wanwo sect, in the mansion. Hey, two adults, are you still used to living in the past few days? At this time, Huo Yi and a group of senior members of the Wanwo sect accompanied the four figures, strolling leisurely in a garden, and laughed. The four people in front of them were Xiao Gui, Luo Menglin, and Xiao Xifen and his wife who had escaped from the 4th floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda. Following Xiao Yan's instructions, Xiao Xifen and the others came to 10,000 Fire Sect directly, and when they saw Xiao Gui for the first time, they recognized the power of the same bloodline. At that time, the scene was terrifying, and the 10,000 Fire Sect was like a great disaster. After all, Xiao Xifen and his wife, no matter who, the strength was far from the power of the 10,000 Fire Sect at this time, but now with the dramatic scene, the two also recognized each other. Now that he hides his aura, he temporarily lives in the 10,000 Fire Sect. Moreover, with Xiao Zifan's cunning state of mind, it is not difficult to see Xiao Gui's thoughts towards Luo Menglin. He is naturally happy to be a father, while Yu Ruer looks at Luo Menglin and likes it quite a bit. Why didn't you come back, big brother? It won't be delayed by anything, right? Xiao Gui followed Luo Menglin, raised his forehead and looked into the distance. After dozens of days, Xiao Gui also gradually accepted his parents. Now that his parents are by his side and his beloved is close at hand, the only thing Xiao Gui is worried about is Xiao Yan. And now Xiao Zifan's hatred for Li Hanyu is also because Xiao Gui has weakened a lot. Sect Master, several adults, Lord Xiao Yan, have returned safely. After Shunshi, Huiyan rushed towards here in a hurry, and behind him there was a powerful guy. Dressed in a black robe, Yu Woheng ancient ruler modified his body to be quite slender, and his aura became extremely fierce. Even some of the powerhouses surrounding Huo Yi at this time did not have such strength. Zheng Xin Lu Mao Chi Chi Novel Wang, WW, Lord Xiao Yan. Big brother, excited voices emerged at the same time, looking at the black-robed man with fiery eyes. Hey, everyone, stay safe. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's speed skyrocketed and came directly to everyone's side. He said with relief, a trace of warmth came spontaneously. 4-star Do Xian mid-stage? Seeing this, Xiao Gui hit Xiao Yan's chest with a palm, and immediately said with a smile, obviously, he had to thank Xiao Yan for his parents. It's just a fluke. Xiao Yan scratched his head and smiled. It seems that the deepest thing is no longer in the Earth Spirit Pagoda. You little guy is really unexpected. After a while, Xiao Zifan took a step forward. The two seniors. Seeing this, Xiao Yan nodded slightly, and then looked at the two with serious eyes. Xiao Zifan's strength, even in the Earth Spirit realm, was enough to rank among the best. It's good to be back. I'm afraid we have to separate for some time. In an instant, the void squirmed, and the figures of the old ghost of the Earth Spirit and the headmaster Luo appeared at the same time. Gather at the same time. Everyone will discuss slowly. We still have things to go back first. Seeing the emergence of these powerhouses, Huo Yi took the lead in speaking, and immediately all the senior members of the 10,000 Fire Sect left here, leaving Xiao Yan and a few people behind. The conversation of the strong is naturally not something they can interfere with. Old D, what are you? Xiao Yan couldn't help asking. We've met and communicated before. As they spoke, they looked at Xiao Zifan. It was obvious that the two of them had some plans. The two of us have already resigned from the Ling Yuan. I'm afraid we will leave the ghost world in the next few days. After a while, the old man said, Will you leave the ghost world in a few days? So anxious? Hearing this, Xiao Yan was even more surprised. Although he had already speculated that Luo Menglan's body was fluctuating like a holy flame, it had not been verified. Let me tell you, some forces in Gaia are restrained and suppressed, and only some special forces in the human world can be completely lifted. Lao Luo and the others are the guardians of a certain holy flame. One of the purposes of going back this time is to inherit the holy flame, and the other is to bring them together. Xiao Zifan said with a smile. It's the cold mist flame that ranks 20th on the sacred flame list. At this time, Luo Menglan, who had always been quiet, said, But this girl's situation seemed to be not very good, and a faint chill appeared all over her body. Cold mist? Xiao Yan asked in surprise. Cold mist flame. This is a core of cloud and mist born in the ethereal, mysterious and unpredictable. It is said that it not only has the power of extreme cold, but also has the effect of interfering with the enemy. It is a holy flame that truly integrates offense and defense. The place we are going is very close to Meng Lan and the others, so this time, I'm afraid we will be separated temporarily. Big brother. While speaking, Xiao Gui became choked up for a while, unable to speak for a long time. If it wasn't for Gaia insisting on saying goodbye to you, we would probably have left the ghost world at this time, because the holy power in Luo Meng's body is already quite serious, and it is urgent. Headmaster Luo on the side said, Since that's the case, seniors, let's set off immediately. Xiao Yan heard the seriousness of the matter and immediately clasped his fists. Little guy, there will be a period in the future. We'll go to Btth continent after we've settled the matter. As soon as the words fell, everyone's bodies disappeared into the void at the same time. Be careful on the road. There will be a period in the future. Xiao Yan nodded lightly. Xiao Gui's current situation is not in vain for him to call himself a big brother. After a long time, everyone converged on the Btth continent, and the Second World War had already begun. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis.